Launch. Just waiting for it to launch on you. Okay, we're live on YouTube. Awesome.
This is live TV.
Yeah, just a sec.
Let me drop a text to my mom. Mom, look, I'm on telly.
Well, where is it? Fuck. Oh. Okay. Yep. We're good. Whew. All right, because I don't see the stream on the in YouTube Studio. Still says it's connecting, but I can see that it's live on our page already. Okay. Oh, now I see everything. Good.
Right.
Oh,
Just remember, yeah, I need to shoot off.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I'll follow the clock. Don't worry about that. All right, we're finally live. Welcome back to Odys Talks, everyone. Naturally, this show is brought to you by Odys Global, your one-stop marketplace for age domains and websites, as well as several additional services such as EAT audits, topic clusters, 3-hour directs, and fully managed hosting. You can also get domains and websites from us in installments. So if this is something you're looking for, make sure to get in touch with our team via the website, and they'll help you out. And today I'm joined by two more of our mentors. It's Rick Shabrika and Steven Kana. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves in a second. So this is the continuation of our special mentor series where we get to talk and tackle the brains of our mentors. And today we're going to speak about how ads drive conversions and ultimately sales. So, and we have two best people, I believe, on the planet who do this. So they will help us all understand how it all works and how it can be combined in the most perfect way possible. So yeah, guys, why don't you go on and introduce yourselves? Rick?
Yeah, cheers for that, Vlad. So, for those that don't know me or haven't heard of me, my background is paid ads, mainly paid social. It's what I've been doing for almost a decade now. So, we've spent a lot of money, we've driven a lot of sales, we've learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes along the way. But yeah, the predominantly in the sort of e-com spaces, but had experience pretty much across the board in lead generation, obviously e-com, and then various others in terms of sort of coaching here and there, and everything from direct response to brand awareness to driving sales. It's all across the board. So I'm interested to sort of have this conversation today because obviously Stephen's coming from more of a sales aspect. I'm more marketing. Those worlds do tend to cross over quite a lot. And yeah, I'm interested to see where this one's going to go. So that's me.
Awesome. Welcome back, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Glad to be here. I currently head the English markets at YPress, which is all about links. I've been in the world of sales, over a decade across various industries and sectors. Vlad obviously knows me, and some of the people within the SEO space who haven't heard of me. I typically come from a restaurant hospitality background. I've managed Michelin star restaurants back in the UK for over 20 years. So thinking on your feet, generating that extra 10 quid, that extra 50 quid of a table, it has always been important, and that's kind of become a part of my DNA and fabric. So since I've crossed over into the fascinating world of SEO, which was 2.5 years ago, I've tried to merge certain outreach and sales strategies I used back there, which I saw similarities. For now, it has brought me some success, but it's still very early days for me in the world of SEO. And then lastly, people who know me, I'm obviously jumping into a new role beginning October, some SaaS platforms. So hopefully I'll still be called a sales expert by the time that gig comes to an end.
Right. Yeah. Welcome back as well. So let's get things going.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
You know that one off by heart now.
Oh, of course. There was one time when I've been using a different platform. I think, yeah, it was Riverside, and it didn't want to play the segment, so I had to do it on my own. So.
Oh no, I missed that one. I'm gonna go and dig it out.
And I don't remember which one it was out of 57 episodes. You'll have to do your research.
You should end up recording it anyways in your voice and then play it as a background.
Huh.
That's what we want to hear.
That's an interesting idea. I'll consider that. I'll consider doing that. All right. So yeah, ads,
dive in,
leads, sales, making money at the end of the day, right? So let's start with you, Rick. So since you have tremendous experience with paid ads, let's put it that way. How do you decide the correct placement for ads across different platforms, whether it's Google, Facebook, I don't know, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever other platforms you work with?
Yeah. So it all comes down to psychology, right? And I think marketing and the way that marketing is evolving, particularly with AI, everybody's getting sort of way caught up with the technical side of marketing and how do we split test as many variants as we possibly can, and how do we build creatives en masse, and how do we, looking at campaign data and it's all going a million miles an hour. The one thing that I'm seeing is that people seem to be forgetting that the fundamental of marketing is psychology, and it's about understanding people's needs, desires, their pain points, and tapping into that with your marketing. It's not just the materials, it's the platforms, like you say, where and it's interesting, Stephen, just to go back on what you said before about coming from a restaurant background. I did as well. So I spent years in the restaurant industry before I moved into the sort of corporate world. So I'm anything but corporate, actually. I'll throw that out there. And the restaurants I was in was not Michelin star. Everyone was all degenerates and vagrants. And, it was the opposite of what you do. But nonetheless, there was still there was some deep psychology that was going on behind it, and I've taken a lot from that into the sort of digital space that I'm in now, and the psychology behind the decisions that I make for different ads and how things are going to work, even down to the minuscule things. And there's so many, right? And it was all so subtle back in the day, and it still is, right? So it was all so subtle, but it was psychology. And here's an example. We were never allowed to say, sorry for your wait. Like if somebody's been waiting for a table for a while, it was never, oh, I'm sorry you've had to wait, because that puts a negative connotation on what they've had to do, and it associates negativity with the experience. It was always, thank you for waiting. So even something as simple as that, people don't, and this is all subconscious. There's nobody, and I guarantee that you've been told these phrases in certain ways, you've never picked up on it. But that's psychology, right? And that's all marketing. It says it all feeds into each other. And the same is true for digital. So going back to your original question, how would I decide which platform is right for a certain campaign? Mm-hmm. I think it depends on, like, you strip away all the, okay, we can do like CPC campaign on here, and we can do a videos view campaign on there, and all this. It's like, right, what stage is this person in, and what product is it or service that I'm trying to promote to them? So if it's, and there's no one size fits all. Again, this is another bugbear of mine, that you find people within, particularly in paid ads, they'll try and put everything into one size box, and it's not the case. Every even for link building, right? Link building services, you could speak to 5 different link building agencies, and everybody's got slightly different requirements. The audience might be at a different stage of the buying phase. It might be a different price point. You might be going after a different type of buyer. Some people might be going after more agency clients. Some people might be wanting to sell links to, affiliate marketing SEOs and yada, yada. So even something as niche as selling links can be so broad. So you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. So I would look at it this way and say, right, who is it that we're looking to promote to, and what stage are these people at? So if it's a business-to-business service, perhaps there's platforms that we know that we may be able to leverage, such as paid social with its really kind of definitive targeting. You've got platforms such as LinkedIn, and these act as great sort of top funnel. I'm going out there and I'm going to decide who my audience is, even though I don't know where they are yet. And with those, we can then drive them to a website. We can drive them to a landing page. We can drive them to download a form or a resource or something. And then we've identified them where we might be able to then transition them from paid social to, perhaps a YouTube campaign or email marketing, a drip sequence. There's so many different options available. So case by case basis, I would treat it, but I would always look at the psychology behind it. Like, where are these people at? Is it a high ticket product that's going to need a bit more selling? Is it an impulse buy where people, it's like $30 to $50 where people don't need to necessarily think too much about the purchase before they make it? Perhaps an interruption marketing platform like social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is perfect for that. So yeah, I would always try and get into the buyer's minds.
Vlad, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Steve, I think there's an overlap on your end.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. I just wanted to literally, I was holding myself back that Rick definitely is my newfound best friend. Because he's literally hit the nail on the head several times there. He spoke so much about that psychology, which is so important, whether you're doing marketing or whether you are on a discovery call trying to, close the deal ASAP. And that only happens if you're asking the right questions, but also you're asking the right questions at the right time. And that's exactly what Rick's been referring to. At what stage is that buyer persona? Everything has to be broken down, and you need to have the ability to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. A lot of people say that. That's a lot of kind of corporate jargon sometimes, but not a lot of people have that foresight or ability to do that. People like Rick, I can guarantee, have that because he's been in the restaurant trade. And thank God I found another gem. And I'm glad. I think you should, to be honest, mate, you should start asking more SEO experts out there. Surely somewhere down the line, the most successful ones have done something in the restaurant trade, which makes them so clever and, being proactive. And it is, whether you like it or not, that's a skill which is so much needed in the marketing campaigns in order to generate those much wanted leads. But then those leads could slip through the cracks very quickly if you do not have a switched on sales team in order to then, further warm up that lead which is coming in by asking the right questions at the right time. The follow-ups are being done, the phraseology is being asked, little triggers which Rick mentioned. Rather than saying sorry, you say, oh, thank you for waiting, we've got the best table in the house for you waiting. That's why it took a couple of extra minutes. So you turn a negative situation into a positive one. And once you see, kind of walking them down to the table, and in our SEO world, kind of doing that on a discovery call with a similar psychology, if they're already happy with the opening words, you have that opportunity to slip in that extra sale. Whereas in the restaurant trade, if you would have done that, the moment you would have sat down, a smart waiter would have gone, do you know what, this calls, because the table's fantastic, let's start with a couple of fantastic Bellinis. The Prosecco is absolutely nice and chilled, something like that. So, you're building upon that little success you've had. And it is, I shouldn't be using that word, but it is a bit of a mind game when it comes to marketing and sales, because there are so many brands out there shoving shit into your face where you actually end up getting confused at what the fuck's real and why should I go and trust this brand and click on it. So yes, deep-rooted psychology. And I think I've always said that, Vlad, to you and certain other webinars or podcasts I've been to. If you've been a successful guy in the restaurant trade for a fair amount of time, you could end up being quite successful in pretty much any other sector, unless you want to build a NASA rocket or you start opening up human bodies, or you want to become a doctor. That is probably requires a different set of skill. But I don't know, Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that because you kind of have to deal with things across the board, from customer service to sales, service delivery, and that all comes back into what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. You have to read the room, you have to know kind of what people are saying, understand the sort of, the tone, and people say that can't be translated digitally. Oh, it can. You can definitely get an idea of what your customers are thinking by how they're engaging with you on your digital platforms. And yeah, it all comes down to psychology and being adaptable, and I think, yeah, some of the situations that Stephen and I will have had to have dealt with in that space are really, really tricky, and they're always massively under pressure, so it's, yeah, I agree. I think it's a great skill. It's a great attribute. It teaches you a lot, that industry. And again, some of the best people in this space that I know have come from, the hospitality industry. I know this seems like hospitality is hijacking this call, and I'm gonna make it my purpose now to try and add as many sort of like puns and anecdotes and everything related to the restaurant industry that also relate to marketing. In fact, here's one for you, and this goes back to sort of paid ads and psychology. If I can keep talking, by the way, Vlad,
of course,
if you don't mind.
go on.
I think that, yeah, as marketers, we do tend to get caught up quite a bit on measuring success and adding targets on things and KPIs. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for it, and I think it's good. It's good to have something to aim for. But when a measure becomes a target, it no longer becomes relevant, because people will find ways around it. And I'll give you some examples of that within the hospitality industry, right? But it translates to marketing. So one example is you've got a target, or you have something that you're measuring yourself against, and you start to add targets in place for that. If you've ever been to a McDonald's, a drive-through, these guys, they're all targeted on the amount of time that it takes to get you served as a consumer. So if you've ever driven through, you can see the little screens, and there's a little timer on there. Well, some of these restaurants, what they do is they know that they're being targeted against that, and they have to achieve these certain targets. Is you'll get to the window where you go to collect your food, and they'll say, "Would you mind just driving around the corner for me, and I'll bring your food out to you in a minute." So what they're doing is they're completely ignoring the consumer experience there. But because they're measured against something now, and they're targeted against this, they're adapting the situation so that they hit their targets. So as a consumer, you're like, "Oh, this is shit," But as a corporation, they've gone, "Well, these are what we're measuring ourselves against, but now we need to target it. Everybody needs to be seen within a 5-minute window." But people aren't, and they're just driving everyone around, and it's just ruining the experience for everyone. So that's one example. There's tons of, like, a lot of them. In the UK, we have the way the doctor system works is you have to call up at 8 a.m. In the morning for a doctor's appointment. If there's no doctor's appointments available, or you call after that time, they will tell you need to call back the following morning at 8 a.m. And that's because the individual doctor's surgeries are targeted on seeing people within a certain time period. So many need to be seen within 24 hours. So if that doctors know that they can't book that person in for an appointment that day. They will ask you to call back the next morning, and it just creates absolute chaos. But this is like across the board, you see it. So, and that translates to what we're doing, in particularly with paid ads and all across the board with marketing. As soon as you put targets against measurements and you put that over your consumer experience, it's only a matter of time before you start blending in and becoming the same as every competitor, but the bad ones, right? And that's because you all of a sudden you start caring. Let's say in an AdSense, it's all about your cost per click, right? Our cost per click is this. It's $1, but and that's been going great. But now we're targeting. We're going to start to bring it down to 80 cents a click, right? That's where we want to get to. So what you'll find over time is that marketers that are running these campaigns, their only objective now is to drive that cost per click down, and they can do that by starting to, in a real world example, is running poorer ads that are more clickbait, as an example. So they know, well, that's okay because I'm going to hit my cost per click target because I'm going to run real clickbait ads that don't really sell the product or the service or address an issue that the consumer is really concerned about. So straight away, this, which once was, okay, let's keep an eye on it, this measurement, as soon as you start adding targets to it, consumer experience goes right out the window. And that's the mistake that a lot of marketers are making. So I don't want to labor that example too much, but yeah.
I agree. I agree, Rick. We had, as WordPress has grown over the last couple of years since I've been here. So the sales team is judged severely on how we're performing in HubSpot. And I'm the worst performer. I'm a market leader there. But my HubSpot dashboard is in absolute fucking shambles. Like if I was only being paid based on my HubSpot dashboard presentation, I would be out of the job next minute. But I quickly realized, and I still have sometimes talks with my boss, that listen, that process has to lead to a fantastic client experience, which gives us maximum revenue, their entire budget, with minimum churn percentage, considering we don't use we don't tie people into lock-in contracts at all. So if that entire 6 to 7 touch point process is now becoming 15, 16, and on top of that, people have to make X amount of contacts every day, which in the corporate world are just absolute bullshit numbers pulled out of thin air. The real conversations on discovery calls, personalizing your emails, being creative on LinkedIn messages literally goes out of the window, because then you're being judged. Oh yeah, we're working really hard because the HubSpot numbers are fantastic, but no one's questioning what's the quality of every conversation or a first cold call or the first cold email going out. No one's reviewing that, which is the most important factor in order to convince someone, which ties in exactly to Rick, what you were saying. People get so, into that clickbait thing that they forget the content quality going out is the most important thing. Less is more sometimes.
Yeah, it's so true. Many marketers and entrepreneurs will like corporations will put certain things over customer satisfaction, and then it's just a race to the bottom. Then it's just a race to everybody being the exact same, because you're all going for the same metrics. And there's some big industry players, right, that are out there that really get this point, and they'll put experiences and customer experience over everything, right? If it goes back to the old golden circle, the why, the what, the how, at the heart of everything is why are you doing this? Why, what's your why? And there's one of the trailblazers, he's also a mentor, is Jason Hennessy. A big shout out to him. He gets it, right? And there's you look at his agency that he's built at, astronomical. But it's all about, he starts with the user experience and it ends with the user experience. So everything that he's doing and the decisions that he's making surrounding his agency, on the face of it, you look at he's making decisions where a finance director would come in and say, we need to stop that, we need to stop that, we need to stop that. But these are fundamental reasons. And here's another one. Here's another food and beverage analogy, and I'll link it back through to kind of what Jason's doing in psychology and marketing and sales. Is in the UK we have a carbonated drink. I don't know. I'm sure it's like available worldwide. It's called San Pellegrino. And it's like a little carbonated drink. It's usually like orange flavor. And they put this little tin kind of foil lid on the top of it to elevate the consumer experience, right? And what that does is, there was an analogy that someone said, yes, I forget who said it, but it's so true. If you were at a wedding reception, you would put a pile or a stack of 20 to 30 or 100 cans of San Pellegrino out before you would put 100 cans of Fanta out for your guests to pick. And the beverage is almost, they're quite similar. They're orange carbonated drinks, but San Pellegrino have positioned themselves in this little foil lid that's being placed on the top of their beverage. That shows that they care about quality. They don't, these our cans haven't been in a dirty warehouse. They've been rolling around and people grabbing them. We really care about your experience here. And I guarantee that there's a finance director that's seeing those as a bottom line cost, going, we need to get rid of those, we'll shave. But the reality is, people wouldn't be investing in them and paying a premium price for them had that not been there. That translates exactly to what the likes of Jason Hennessy and co are doing, in that they're offering initiatives out there that they're fronting money for, to create a better experience for potential future clients. And then when they're getting them in, that translates right through. It starts with a great experience and it ends with it as well. So people just need to, yes, metrics, and we need to live by these things, but don't target yourself so much on them, and think more about your consumer and the why, and everything else will naturally fall into place.
Yeah, well, great example, great stories. Very tangible, I'd say. Let's get back to ads and leads and sales for a minute. Since you guys are on the two ends of this spectrum, let's say, the entire process. How do I put this? What role do paid ads play in the lead generation process, lead nurturing process, and how can they complement SEO efforts to improve lead quality and ultimately lead to a sale? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So I was going to say, do you want me to? I suppose it's more sort of paid ads from our side of things. So it works with communication with the sales teams, right? And there's Instagram accounts that are just constantly pumping out memes for aimed at salespeople, and over half of this type of content that you see is always the sales team taking the piss out of the marketing team, because they're like, oh my god, finally we've had a qualified lead, kind of thing. And that's the problem, right? Is that this sales and marketing are notoriously sort of battling against each other, and sales are trying to justify their position within the company and why things might not be doing so well. Marketing are doing the same. They're all blaming each other, but it's all about creating synergy. Awful sort of corporate word, but the synergy between the two. So what I would do with that is just be in constant communication with the sales team and go, right, my job here is to deliver qualified leads, right? You know better than anybody, because you're speaking to these leads on a daily basis, what makes up a qualified lead. And I'll learn everything about them. What would this person's name be? Where would they live? What's their gender? What are their age? What are they into? And the sales team will tell you everything you need to know about these customers. But it's almost like, because sales and marketing speak, sales are speaking Chinese and marketing speaking Swahili. They can't have a conversation together. But it's like, no, if we will tell you everything you need to know, but marketing are always, tend to be afraid to ask those questions. But yeah, it's all about communication and really understanding who the right buyer is first, because marketing often, they will almost never speak to these candidates or these leads directly, and that's why it's all almost sort of so disjointed. So to drive as high a quality lead as possible, you need to have a strong relationship with your sales team, and it needs to feed both ways. So the leads feed into the sales team, and the feedback feeds right back into your ad campaign, so that this ad from this campaign, from this group of people that we're targeting, is bad. This ad from this campaign, from this group of people, is good. Right, we'll do more of that.
Yeah, with obviously an angle, trends, cultural nuances. You got to be careful of, certain words and phraseologies would work in with one nationality, but not with the other. And that's classic what you said, where bigger corporations, where there's a centralized marketing team strategizing for multiple markets out there. What I also tend to see is one size fits all approach, where because it's worked in one country, they somehow automatically assume this is exactly what's going to happen in country number 5, 6, 7, 8 down the road as well, which clearly is just money burned. And yes, Rick, why is that? Obviously, you're in a very active player. You obviously saying the right things, but why is it always where, even though the marketing teams would know that is definitely the right way of doing it, because the sales team are literally helping them to do their jobs a lot better, because you're getting it from the horse's mouth, yet they're very against it? Is it just one of those beginning of time enemies born into the world where sales and marketing can never gel? What is it, apart from different mentalities and languages they speak?
Yeah, I could put it really simplistically and really blunt. I found that salespeople tend to be more outgoing, outspoken. They won't hold back, and marketing people tend to be more recluse. They will be more introvert, and that is a massive generalization and stereotype on these two huge groups of people. But in my years of experience in this space, I've always found the salespeople naturally, and there's no surprise that you're doing well in your position, because you've got the gift of the gab. You can speak to people, you understand how to speak to people, and you'll be confident in you're doing that. A lot of the marketers that I've sort of dealt with over the years, not all of them, but the vast majority of them tend to be a bit more sort of the opposite of that. So a marketer would be less inclined to share their opinion on something if they felt they were going to hurt someone's feelings, whereas a sales guy, because they're having to deal with people day in, day out and deal with rejection, they don't give a shit. They're like, I don't care, this needs fucking fixing. And the marketing guy's like, oh, I really should ask that guy, but he's probably going to shout at me. And so there's maybe some work that we need to do on there. We need AI's help to create a language that both can speak. But data is a universal language, right? So if everybody's working towards a common goal, it's like, right, okay, we may not agree on certain things, but this is bad for you and it's also bad for us. Let's work together to try and fix that. But yeah, in my experience, that's what I would say is the reason behind that.
So the bottom line is, in order to nurture quality leads, you just have to, the teams marketing and sales teams just have to get their shit together and make it work between each other. Just keep constant communication and sort things out.
Basically go out drinking every Friday or Saturday, mate. That's it.
Best solution, man.
This is, it didn't take long. No, definitely. So that is, they have to speak the same language, so to speak. But the reason behind that is, that you want to, as a marketer, you want to drive the best quality traffic as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Now we can go out there. This is talking about lead generation, right? And we can do all the market research that we want. We can look at all the various different platforms. We can do psychoanalysis on demographics and really dig deep. But you're not going to get a better response than speaking to the person that's speaking to your customers day in, day out. So yeah. That's why, and that will give a marketer way more insight than any platform, any digital resource, any AI chatbot that could possibly give you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rick, talking about the restaurant analogies and times we've spent there, and I'm sure you might have done that. For any business decision to be made in any restaurant, the only measurable data to look at were comment cards or feedback from actual paying customers. Okay, if there's something happening quite often and there are certain benchmarks, then something needs to be looked at, i.e. it could be the Prosecco is not going out chilled enough, or the fish and chips, I don't know, seasoning has just been screwed up, and you see 10 comments have appeared, or someone's given 3 stars on fish and chips for the last 2 weeks. Okay, let's just order some fish and chips as mystery diners, and let's see what's really coming out of the kitchen. And we did something a lot deeper during my restaurant days. I'm sure, Rick, you know of this brand, Gauchos, back in the UK, all about Argentinian steak. So our marketing team there, probably 12 years ago, did a massive deep dive into how much money does a brand lose by having one disgruntled customer who wasn't looked after before he left the premises of the restaurant. We looked at, okay, how often does the UK public dine out? What's the average spend in our restaurant? You look at all the competitors, and when we added all the data in, it came out that one angry customer going out speaks to, on an average, 10 other people to not go and eat in that branch of Gauchos, in that restaurant, which was costing us over £13,000 of annual revenue being lost for one angry customer. And I think that's where the devil is in the detail. And I think a lot of that approach and psychology should be applied when we look in the digital marketing spaces, especially in the SEO world, where the standard answer generally is it depends. Google updates and all of that, especially in my sector, the shittiest of all, bottom of the barrel, doing link building. How do I convert and keep my clients from not going to a million other link builders out there, yet having to invest in me? Actually, WordPress is just a platform. End of the day, people buy from people. And if they see that you actually know your shit, the product knowledge has to be there. Your customer service skills are absolutely spot on. And then you're not there to actually rip them out of their entire budget, but you're giving certain guarantees. There are expectations being set. You're being 100% honest right from the number one discovery call. And at the same time, you're not asking, listen, I'm going to send a contract, give me all your budget from month one. No, you take baby steps, you deliver minimal results, and then you ask for bigger, better numbers. And I think for me personally, it's always worked. You can't have that. You overpromise and underdeliver. It should be the other way around. And I've always said that. One of my last phraseologies in every discovery call, I've said, whether it's John or Rachel or whatever, I said, listen, don't believe a word of what I've said. Let me show it to you. Send me a test campaign. Give me 500 quid. Let me show you what WordPress can really do. And I'm going to report back within the next couple of weeks. Everything I've said on my discovery call, how much of that percentage we managed to achieve. Let's have another call then in a month's time and see, okay, are you comfortable to move 30% of your budget with us? Give me 2 months to run with it, and then I'll come back and we can then talk bigger, better, longer deals, better numbers, where you have the satisfaction and factual data in front of you. But all that is building psychology, which is exactly, again, back to my restaurant days. If I know I have to target that table to make sure they have their after meal drinks, and I need to sell him the most expensive shot of cognac or a cigar, then that starts literally from the moment I welcome that client at the door. You know, whether it's complimenting their attire, whether it's talking about specials, whether it's about talking football, whatever, still being genuine about it, because you can't bullshit, because at least in our space, you can get away with some banter, breaking the ice conversations, giving compliments, but you've got to deliver. Exactly in a restaurant where the food needs to match your bullshit on the table. That we generally are the best, but it's a natural progression where you got to be on the ball and you got to say the right things at the right time. If your product is fantastic, if back of house is all screwed up, you shouldn't be talking to any clients at all.
Oh, that's a hell of advice. Right, we're approaching the wrap up moment for this episode, so I'm gonna just throw out one last question for you guys, and I think it's gonna take the rest of the time. So, yeah, obviously you both are in the mentorship program. You both are Odys mentors. So my question for you would be, considering your experiences, considering your specializations, let's say as well, why join an age domain marketplace as mentors? You're not SEOs. I mean, you're not building sites, right? But still, you're there to help whoever needs assistance from our marketplace with whatever they're dealing with.
Can I go first?
Sure.
For me, the reason's quite simple. For me, it's always about as much knowledge share you can give and help the SEO community out there. And if you can do it with a trustworthy brand like yourselves, I love you and Andrew and Alex, then why not? People come and ask all sorts of questions to me in conferences. But if I can amplify that and help people along the way, and I've very quickly realized I've only been 2.5 years in the digital marketing / SEO space, but there's so much bullshit out there that you need that go-to person. My go-to people when I need business advice is James Dooley and Matt Singers. Now it's going to be Rick. Rick is added to that list as well. But I think
very much. I owe you a beer for that.
But yeah, simple reasons, man. That's if I can help other people and hopefully they think what I'm saying is sensible and they could take one knowledge nugget away, which saves them $5,000 or doubles their revenue within 2 quarters, then you've made a friend for life.
True. All right.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah, I would echo what Stephen's saying for himself. I think anybody that's looking at or that needs support, it goes a bit more beyond the kind of general, the technical advice. How do I increase my traffic? How do I increase my conversion rate? Sometimes things go a little bit beyond that, and somebody like Stephen, who has got this wealth of experience that he brings into this space, it's a breath of fresh air. And there's advice that you'll be able to pick up from Stephen that you wouldn't be able to pick up from any other SEO. I guarantee it, from his past experience that he's brought in. So that was me just adding a bit more to Stephen before I say about myself. Stephen would be a great mentor. I know it. As for me, what I would bring or why, why I'm here, in particular for the Odys mentor campaign, is it's a lonely place, right, in the digital marketing world, and there's a lot of unanswered questions, and there's a lot of information, and there's even more misinformation available. And when you're new and you're digesting all this information, or even when you're not new, right, when we're looking to just expand our knowledge and have a bit of a refresh, you realize how many voices there are out there. And what I personally love about the mentor program is that it's vetted. So that if you need a particular piece of advice relating to a certain skill set, that if you look for anybody on the Odys mentor sort of marketplace, you know that these people are the right people and they've been chosen, and it's not, do you know what I mean? You can tell because it's only a very small group of people that are on the mentor program. So that's why I would want to be on there from my side of things, but also from somebody that's looking for support. You know that you're in the right place, whether it is you're looking for technical SEO, you're looking for help with paid ads or whatever. You just find the right person that seems like a good fit for you. And yeah, I'm doing it because it's a lonely place when you're starting out. I've buried my head in my own projects for so many years. We've driven, millions upon millions of pounds worth of revenue for our own brands, and that's great. But I think that even having the odd conversation with someone else, regardless what stage they're at, if I can impart some of the pain that I've been through to them to help them avoid it, it doesn't, it's just a bit of time. I'm saying like I'm doing it as like charity work, but I do get a kick out of it, whether it's someone on the street. I was at the tip the other day, and I was just dropping off a load of like cardboard rubbish, and there was one of the guys came over and he commented on my car, and he was like, "Oh, I like your car. What do you do?" So I was like, "Marketing." He's like, "Oh, I'm really trying to get my business off the ground. Like, I have no idea where to go." And this was just a guy at the local rubbish dump. It was so niche. He's looking to open up a local shooting range here in the UK, because there's not as many as there may be sort of in America. So he was like, "Could you, would you mind like giving me some advice and some pointers?" So I'd sent him. I'd taken like 15 minutes, like just putting an email together. I had a few days giving it some thought. I got some pointers, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing." And that difference that it's made to that guy on his journey, who knows whether he'll apply it or not, or whether it'll work for him. I hope it does. But I wish that I had that at certain stages when I was being, kicked down at every possible opportunity. And I was like, "Oh, there's another hurdle. I don't know what I'm doing." So yeah, it's all about sort of demystifying any problems, because I guarantee there's no problem that you could have that any one of the mentors across the board hasn't already been through themselves. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, both of you, and thanks for having this conversation, for getting together and spending these 46 minutes of your time just discussing and sharing knowledge. Yeah, everyone, just stay tuned for the next week's episode. Subscribe to us to our social media pages, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube as well, but you're here, right? If you're watching this, make sure to smash the like button and the bell as well to get notified about new stuff that's coming out pretty much on a daily basis. Yeah, see you around, guys. Yeah, as always, talk to you later.
Take care. See you guys.
See you, mate.
Cheers.
Bye.